Good afternoon, everyone. This is Anita Talks History and Genealogy, and I'm your host, of course. And I just want to say before I get started that anything that's on my podcasts or videos or shorts is my opinion, and I've taken responsibility for what I'm saying. It's just information that I have gathered over many years and that I'm sharing. And unlike many people, I'm willing to change my opinion. If you have something that's more relevant other than your opinion, you know, because I am backing my opinion up with facts. If you can have an opinion that you're backing up with facts, please feel free to share it, you know. And in the meantime, hit that like and share button. Feel free to ask questions or comment, and please share within your network and keep our channel growing. This is Anita Talks History and Genealogy, and I talk on many topics. Sometimes I talk on current events as they pertain to the past. So don't hold me to, oh, she's not talking about history. It's all history. History should not be a mystery. And what's going on today here in the United States um, it's nothing new. We've been going through it. We've been going through it for over 400 years now. Our community, the indigenous community, and the descendants of slaves here in the Americas. We have been going through it, and it's nothing new under this sun. But today I wanted to bring up a topic, and this is about the Seneca. And the Seneca, or Indian tribe, they were part of the Iroquois Confederation. And the reason that I want to bring them up is because many of you know that growing up, we were not allowed to say that we were part indigenous, that we were native. We were not, allowed to say that. Come to find out that many of our ancestors' birth certificates were changed so that they were, instead of being able to say they're Indian, which in itself is a derogatory term, it would have been more appropriate had they identified them by their tribes on the census records. But they took that off so that my ancestors who were indigenous, who were native, they were identified as mulatto, and then they were identified as colored, and they were identified as Negro or black. And this could be within a lifetime. So, and because of that, I spent most of my life digging up the truth about who my ancestors were, who the indigenous people were in my family, proving who they were to myself, to my family members, and to our community. And now it's not, it's kind of like commonplace that we understand that the first slaves in the Americas were the indigenous people, were the Indians who were here. The tribes, not the Indians, but the tribes who were here. The first ones that Columbus came in contact with were the Arawak, and they were in Cuba. And when I was in Cuba, they were telling me that this is where Columbus landed, and about the atrocities that the ancestors suffered, the Arawak. And Americus Vespucci, who landed down around Brazil, they also enslaved the indigenous people there. But it's such a massive land. A lot of the indigenous people there were better able to escape into the terrain, into the woods, the Amazon, and disappear. And they did, the ones that could. So there were Africans, enslaved Africans taken to Brazil, you know. And some of my ancestors escaped too. They were escaping, to Canada. They were getting away, and but all of them did not get away. The ones there, many of them died from the diseases that these people brought over with them, and then the ones that were enslaved, some of them were around, I would say, 1692. There was a Maryland governor who redesignated the indigenous people as mulatto and colored, and then it became colored, and then it became Negro, and then black. But Maryland, the governor of Maryland did it. In the hanging statutes at large in Virginia, they did it as well. They redesignated. They said there's no more natives here. There's no more Indians here. These people are mulatto. They mixed race. They're colored, or they're Negro, or they're black. So it was against the law to even say you were Indian after they passed those laws. The last one, I think, that was significant was in 1704. And there was a Walter Plecker in the 1920s that went after a group of Indians or indigenous people, which was my tribe, actually, that I belonged to, the Monacan Indian Nation, and said that these people are, trying to pass. They're colored. They're not Indian. They're trying to say they're Indian. And he made it against the law for them to say they were Indian. And he went into the vital statistics and changed their racial identity. So what I want to make clear to everybody, especially those of you who are new in researching, is that these people control the vital statistics. They control the birth certificates that come through. They control the census. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. So they were able to go in, and anyone who they wanted to, they redesignated them as mulatto, colored, Negro, or black. And I may say this in another, I may say this again. I may keep saying it because I want you to understand how deep it was when they started setting up this racial hierarchy here in colonial America. And so, and I wanted to bring up today about the Iroquois Federation. So the Iroquois Federation, they were mostly up in northern, the Northeast. And it was made up of the Mohawk, the Oneida, the Onondaga, Seneca, and the Tuscarora. And so the Tuscarora were their last ones to join. They joined in 1722. But they controlled all of what is New York, all that region up into Canada. They were also in Canada. There's Onondaga Reservation in Canada today. And also, they controlled the Ohio Valley. So there was a treaty called the Nanfran Treaty, where certain lands were given to the colonizer, and that treaty covered like New York and parts of the Ohio Valley and things like that. But there's a dispute about what land that treaty covered, because there was also the land was supposed to be left for the indigenous people or the native people to live on. without being, harassed. And and so the reason I'm bringing this up and talking about this confederation is that one of my ancestors, his name was Henry Green, and I wrote a book about him called Black Minqua, about him and the tribes that lived in that region. And Henry Green was he. I have heard that he was Seneca, but I know that that line of people were indigenous. All of those, the Iroquois covered all the territory from New York down into Virginia and Maryland and Delaware at the time that they were, really in their prime. They were controlling that, the Iroquois Confederation. And so Henry Green is one of my ancestors. Also, that was Mohawk, and so was the sister of Chief Jacob. His sister was Mary, and Mary married, was supposed to be in this marriage with this white colonel. His name was William Johnson, and so her name, she was Mary Molly. They called her Molly, and then her indigenous name, and she had many children with him, and they lived, up in upstate New York. Anyway, but the reason that I'm bringing all this up is to say that when I hear about Seneca Village, knowing what I know about how these people went in and redesignated Native people as mulatto, colored, Negro, or black, then I want people to think about the fact that Seneca Village up in New York, why would it have that name? Because that is one of the Iroquois Confederation's, tribes. It's Seneca. And I want us to think about the fact that it was actually a Seneca village. That the Seneca Indian tribes lived there. And it wasn't, those people that they're calling free blacks were probably Seneca. And the reason I bring it up is I want those of you who may be connected to the Seneca to do some research. Don't just believe. Why would a free black community call themselves Seneca? And knowing what I know about how these people do stuff and how they were redesignating us as free blacks or, mulatto colored, I believe that Seneca Village is there in New York that is now Central Park was originally a Seneca, belonged to the Seneca people, the Indian people of the Seneca Village, which they are still there. They're up in, they have a tribe, their tribe is in western New York now. But I would hazard to guess that they were run out of Seneca Village because the Mohawks, they're always making jokes about them selling, selling parts of New York or bridges or stuff in New York for $5 or whatever. And of course, they were there when these people came and pushed them off of their land. So they were there. The Seneca were there. The Iroquois Federation was all over that region. They were all over New York. They were all over Canada. Canada, this was all one big landmass before the colonizers came in and carved it up, just like they did Africa. And so I'm not going to definitively answer that question. I'm going to put it out there so that other people can, do more research, and I'm going to do more research on it. But I'm not looking for them to tell us the truth. we have to dig up and find out what is the truth. And sometimes some of the tribes don't even know what the truth is because they have been so scattered. Many of them have been uh, assimilated into the Christian church or the Catholic church or whatever, and they themselves may not know the true history. But I just want to put it out there because we've been lied to so much, you know. And I want to know what you all think, what you're, if you have done any research into that, whether that Seneca village was actually part of the Seneca Indian Nation before they were driven off the land. Or was it what they say, which I don't believe. I don't believe anything they say because I think they make up stuff as they go along. And we're supposed to just believe it and parrot it. Anyway, so that's my spiel for today. And also don't forget that I have perks. I have all kinds of mugs, especially when you go all sitting up there in all that cold in the east. You're frozen. It's all kind of snow up there and stuff. You can get a mug and drink some hot chocolate, hot coffee, whatever you want. And I have 3 sizes of mugs. I have scarves. I have hoodies, shirts. And so, hey, that's how the channel keeps going, is that, you come and we participate with each other, back and forth, and keep the channel going because we want to resolve these issues that have been presented to us of who we are as a people. And it's beautiful to see our young people realizing, that this is who I am and claiming it. So that's what we need to do, claim who we are and don't let anybody else do the research for you. There is no one general answer to the questions. Specifically, when you begin looking, you start from where you are. You start with yourself. Who were your parents? Who were their parents? How long have you been in the community? What other community have your people lived in? Then you do some historical context on the community where your parents came from, and find your grandmother, find the elders in your family, and jam them up, ask them questions. It's your history, it's our history, and if we don't have anything else to share, we should have that to share. And we're a proud people. We are a people who were the first. We were the first. Don't ever forget that. Nobody has more claim to this land that we live on than we do. And that doesn't mean we don't have a claim to Mother Africa. I have a beautiful great-great-grandmother who is from Guinea, West Africa, and she told us where she was from. And I consider that my land too. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let anybody tell you, well, it's either or. No, it's not either or. It's what I say it is. And that's what I said. Okay? And we are, most of us who are here, who they call, they want to call us different names and stuff like that. We were actually from here. We are native and indigenous to these lands. And some of our ancestors that were brought over were African. And there were some Europeans who put themselves into our family lines. But we were here and we're indigenous to these lands. That is not going to change, And with that, I want to thank you for your support. Please, if you can, subscribe. Your subscription helps to keep the channel floating. And, find a way to share and bring people into the conversation. The more people we have in the conversation, the better we're going to do. And I will check with you all soon. Have a good one.